Okay, so we are recording.
Heck yeah.
And
what a pretty morning.
Man, this is gorgeous. Barely jacket on weather. Barely.
I know. That's why I have the little hoodie going.
I hear you.
Little thin coat.
I hear you.
Luna Bell.
Shall we roll?
Let's freaking do it.
And it is, once again, shiftless. And a beautiful,
gorgeous morning.
Autumn, fall. What's your preferred term?
I never find myself saying the word autumn. I always say fall.
Okay.
I think it's a like regional vernacular thing, isn't it?
Or it's just a mountain biker thing because we fall.
Yeah. Saw some good falls last night.
Did you?
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Oh, my gracious.
That leads me to my first question I had for you. As far as bike maintenance goes, I was always taught that you keep your brake levers tight enough to where they don't move, but loose enough to where if you wreck, they will move.
Okay.
And last night we had a guy pull a beautiful, splendid uphill endo and went down pretty hard, and his brake lever went up against his shifter, which was an illegal move anyways, but we'll allow it. And his brake lever, because it was dark, he kept going, my brakes are sticking. Well, his brake lever had rotated down, and so he was running XT or XTR brake levers, and they're catching on the shifter. Little did he know. But when we stopped to address it, we had to loosen his brake lever to even get it to move. Oops. Historically, I've always kept my brake levers to where if they move in a wreck, you can just reach down and yank them back. That's the way I was always taught to run them.
Okay.
I just didn't know if I was...
You said you had a question in there. What's your question?
Oh. I guess it was more of a statement, but just from my point of view. So
I will be the first to admit I have never consciously thought of that specific
Well, the whole
setup.
reason you do that, though, you don't want your brake levers so tight to where they won't move, because then you run the risk of breaking your brake lever.
Breaking a brake lever, and a broken brake lever is like one of the worst things you can try to deal with.
So the idea is you have it tight enough to where it's not going to move under regular use, but if you, in the event of an impact, it will move.
No,
it'll yield. Yeah.
Makes all the sense in the world. I've just never consciously thought of it myself. But in turn, I rarely set the brake levers myself.
Yeah.
I mean, usually it's done at the build and go to get the fit and dial it in from there. And hopefully I'm lucky enough that I don't take a tumble and it becomes an issue.
Right. I was just wondering if that was common knowledge or uncommon knowledge.
I'm going to go with the uncommon knowledge, but that's just me because I'm an idiot when it comes to bikes. So anybody that wants to disagree with Brad on this subject or say it's common or uncommon knowledge, hey, reach out and touch us. shiftlesslive@gmail.com.
I just thought that was one of those things that everybody did. And then I mentioned it last night. I was like, why are your brake levers so tight? He's like, so they won't move. And I'm like, but they're supposed to be able to move when you wreck. And so for this specific case, like, you could just reach down and move it back. And he's like,
but maybe that's one of those things that's common knowledge at the mechanic level, at the wrench level specifically.
This guy doesn't wrench on his bike. His shop does.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. So it's never been anything that I've thought of. But I've taken plenty of falls. I've taken plenty of autumns.
Yeah.
And I have, knock on wood, I'm going to jinx myself here. I already know it. I have yet to break a brake lever. I've broken everything else on the bike at one. I've never broken a brake lever. I've never broken a frame. So I'm really jinxing myself now.
I think I've broken one of everything.
Well,
I've broken
multiples on the same ride. Right?
the strangest thing I've ever broken was a headset.
No, I need to hear this story.
I've broken 2 headsets. I used to buy, so in my youthful days, I didn't think headsets were that important. I was like, well, it just turns,
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd buy like entry-level Cane Creek headsets.
Sure.
And so, you have the cup that holds the bearing, and then you have I don't even know what you call that piece that actually goes into the head tube. On 2 separate occasions, I broke the insert that goes into the head tube off of the cup because I was just buying cheap headsets.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird thing to happen, but so then I go, oh, I get it. Now I get why we buy Chris King headsets.
That's why Chris King exists.
Yeah. It's not just for smooth steering.
Not sponsored by Chris King, but shout out to Chris King.
So now I run Cane Creek 110's headset, or actually on my newest bike I have White Industries headset. But I've broken forks, I've broken frames, I've broken seat posts, I've broken cranks, I've blown up wheels.
How about a bottom bracket? Have you broken a bottom bracket?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I've broken cups on bottom brackets, but not spindles themselves.
I broke this spindle.
Yeah.
Single speeding with Mo at Knob Hills.
I'm guessing that was square taper. If it was still in the Mo days.
Probably. I thought it was an ISIS, but maybe not.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember specifically, but back when Knob Hills was still an out and back, and towards the end when you had that one good up, that coming back was a really good down.
Yeah.
Going up that, and it just sheared on me and racked my balls like you wouldn't believe. I cried.
Yeah, I went through a spout where I was breaking chains all the time.
Yeah, we remember that.
Yeah.
There's lots of jokes still running on that one.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, it's part of what happened. It's the truth. But I was that incurred a lot of racking and knee just slamming into stems, which was never fun. And all jokes aside, it makes you, when you're that prone to breaking chains and dropping chains, it makes you very gun shy.
Sure.
And so when I would get to a point where I wanted to lay down power, I would always find myself like,
Did you ever sort out what the underlying issue was on all that, or did it just go away?
I think it was a compounding of multiple things. There was I was running a large tie cog in the back, which could or could not have been part of it.
In what way?
Just because those Boone cogs, when you get to like 21, 22, they tend to have a little bit of flex.
So the cog itself was potentially flexing.
Potentially, I think, but in conjunction with that Sir9 frame, in those days they were very spindly,
or compliant.
Very horizontally compliant, though. That's the problem. Because you could literally push on the crank and the whole bottom bracket would shift over 2 inches.
I think we found your problem there.
I think that may have been the problem. And I was always running 180s, so I had a little bit more leverage.
Oh, you're just stacking stuff here. You really are.
And I think all of that kind of added up to be the problem. So I fought it for a long time.
So pushing lots of leverage, but with a twisty frame and a tweaky cog.
Mm-hmm.
And what chain were you running in those days, or did you keep switching around trying to find the magic formula?
I think I was just running like a 9-speed chain.
Generic single speed setup.
Yeah.
The SRAM 9-speed or whatever it was.
I was probably buying the cheapest chain back then.
Well, that's what we were.
Because I was going through. They were disposable.
Well, I think back then, and I'm sure some bike geek's going to argue with me on this one, but I'm pretty sure back in those days there really wasn't a whole lot of difference between the different levels of. Now, don't get me wrong. If you went super duper high end, there was probably some difference.
Yeah.
But at the basic consumer level, particularly for single speed applications.
Well, you either ran, I can't remember if it's 3/32 and 1/8 inch, and one of them is for
8 speed.
Yeah, it depends on the thickness of your chain ring.
Yeah.
Is what really dictated it, because you don't want slop in there.
Well, and yeah, that was back in the days before we had. Damn it! What's the term they use now for the chain ring? Those
narrow wide
chain rings.
Yeah,
they didn't exist then.
What a great invention! Those things are freaking bomb proof.
Oh, tell me about it. Well, I mean, I went 1x9.
Mm-hmm.
Real early in the process. It was
on your piece, wasn't it?
No, it was on that Strong that I got from Ben.
Yeah.
So I had it set up since I love that bike.
Mm-hmm.
Something was going on, and I decided to step back from single speeding for a bit. But I just like, Clarence, let's throw a shifter and a cog on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's going to drop. Well, we'll figure out a way for it not to.
Yeah.
And played with it, and I mean, we had that little thing that was a little vinyl plastic nub thing that was supposed to be a chain holder, and it worked pretty well.
Chain keeper.
Until it didn't.
Yeah.
Because since it's plastic, eventually it would wear down, and
Sure.
eventually the chain would be. But yeah, I was running 1x9 in like 2008, 2007.
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought 1x was a fantastic way to go. I'd take that bike out on the trails, and people would look at me like I was stupid. Is that a single speed or is that a geared bike? Make up your mind.
I ran I told you about when we rode down to Lake Whitney. I set my bike up 1x9 at the time, but for some reason, I can't remember if it was where I had my wheel placement or how wide my rear tire was. I couldn't run 2 of the gears, so it was relegated to 1x7, and we rode all the way to Lake Whitney and back. It was like 186 miles. And it worked perfect. So
yeah, I get why things are 12 speed right now and maybe about to become 13, or are they already 13? But
there's some people that are already messing with it. I think Campy's already doing a 13. Is it Rotor? I think Rotors running a 13 transmission. I mean, but I right before Big Bend, I converted my bike. Well, it was already 12 speed. But I replaced my entire drivetrain. It worked flawlessly.
It worked.
Flawlessly, by the way.
You did everything wrong, but it still worked out.
I would not advise anybody to do that, but it worked perfect. I replaced my chain, my cassette, my derailleur, my free hub body, and my cable. Actually, I did not replace my cable because I knew it was going to stretch. But I have a brand new cable, and now I'm going to replace my cable.
Now you better replace the cable.
Yeah. But I was running 34 up front and an 1150. And I'm still running 34 up front, but when I went to an XD driver, it allowed me to go to a 1052. That's a huge spread.
Yep.
Like, I don't even know with, I'd have to sit down with a pen and paper or like Sheldon Brown gear calculator. But when we were running 2x and you were running like an 11, 36, I don't even know if you were getting as much gear range as I'm getting with the 34 1052.
Right. No, I get it.
That's huge. But I mean, that gear's almost too low. And then,
well, yeah, I mean, you're pedaling at sub walking speed at that point.
Yeah. And there was still stuff I had to walk.
Sure.
Down there. So, but it's plenty of gear, and I love it.
Why are you so needy today, Luna? Huh?
Luna's so needy. She misses her mother.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
What else were we going to talk about?
Did you have anything?
What we got emails.
Got a couple of emails.
I forgot the gist of them. Let me see.
I just kind of forward them your way and
Yeah,
let you digest them.
I read both of them. Yeah, I want to talk to this guy, Justin.
Yes, I think I mentioned after All or Nothing that I thought he would be somebody good to speak with. But why don't you read his email, and we'll see if we can set something up with Justin Carey.
You want me to read it out loud?
Sure.
Okay. Hey, this is Justin Carey. Just wanted to thank you guys again for putting on all the Spinistry races. That last All or Nothing race was truly one of the harder races I've done. I heard you guys mention me in your podcast, and I was laughing so hard when you were talking about my grandpa's seat. If you guys ever wanted me to be a guest on your show, I would be up for it. I'm in Prosper, Texas. I could drive her over or call in. I do feel like I ride way different than most people, but I spend a lot of time on bike setup. I use Fidlock exclusively on XC Enduro and gravel bikes. I don't even know what Fidlock is. I remember you guys talking about Fidlock on a podcast.
Fidlock was that water bottle, that magnetic water bottle.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. I make my own blend of nutrition from the raw ingredients. It's way cheaper. See, I'm super interested in that.
Okay.
And I have a lot to say about flat pedals, smiley face. Also, I have some bro science on overcoming injuries, being consistent on working out, not quitting when racing. I also think it's okay to get last or close to last place in races. I've been last or in the last few people in May race. Man, Justin, let's proofread, buddy. In my race over the years, and a lot of times I know this going into that race that I will do bad, but I do them anyways because it's motivation for me to train harder for the next one. Absolutely. I think a lot of us have entered races where we know that we're not going to just win, and you have to, at that point, you just chalk it up to a training ride.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, Justin embraces a lot of the philosophies that, I attach myself to as well. I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's just Justin is definitely unconventional from the racer perspective.
Yeah.
There's in the racing community, there's a lot of, follow the leader for every aspect of it. Oh, this is what the pointy end of the field does. Everybody else needs to do exactly that.
Yeah.
So, Justin definitely defies conventional wisdom.
I applaud people like that.
I tend to defy conventional wisdom. I think that might be the understatement of the year. But I mean, Justin reminded me at the I think his first event of ours was several years. It was Sansom 66, and he shows up on an enduro bike and racing the Sansom 66.
Man,
so
that's a lot of bike to push.
That's a lot of bike to push at Sansom. There's no doubt about it.
Because it's going to turn to that.
So I think we're both in agreement. It might make sense to bring Justin in to chat sometime.
He seems quirky enough to talk to.
I think he'll appreciate the label of quirky, but he'll
I don't mean it with any disrespect.
No, none whatsoever.
The cycling world is full of every flavor, and some of the people that go against the mainstream grain are some of my favorites. So.
All right. Well, Justin, we'll reach out to you and we'll try to arrange something. We prefer to sit together live whenever possible, but if that doesn't fit into your world, we'll make something work.
It's mo better. Maybe we could go to Prosper.
That's quite possible.
I'm sure there's something up there to eat.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
People gotta eat.
People gotta eat.
Said you had another email too?
Mm-hmm. From Josh Dean.
Oh, that's right. I knew there was Josh being Josh.
I think we all know some of the stuff he's talking about, but he said, had some time in the car driving to and from Single Speed, Texas, so I took it as an opportunity to catch up on the show. Couple notes. Mic levels aren't even. Kevin sounds great, but Brad can barely be heard. I think we might have handled that at this point.
Well, we definitely touched on it. I think the episode he was listening to was that one we did indoors, and we had to throw some AI remove background noise on there, so that did mess with Brad's mic levels a little bit there.
But full disclosure, I think it was partially my fault, not sitting close enough to the microphone, and maybe Kevin tweaking my levels down because he wants to be the front runner.
More Brad.
So, interview with Ron and Ted. You're such a dick. Interview with Ron and Ted were awesome. Keep content like that coming. I totally agree. Ron was a little bit much for me just because that stuff makes my brain hurt, but Ted was awesome to talk to. I mean, they were both awesome to talk to. And he says, I suggest a winter training episode with Sean. He's a wealth of knowledge and knows the community and tech better than anyone. He is a very tech savvy guy when it comes to like indoor training and stuff like that. But he's not a mechanic. So
that's one of my favorite things about Sean is he's less bicycle mechanically inclined than I am, and that's a pretty low bar.
I have to tell you a quick story where they do a Thursday night gravel ride out of Prosper, as a matter of fact. And so I would go up there and do that when Josh still lived here. I didn't make it to too many, but probably half a dozen or so. And I'm riding behind Sean on the gravel road one day, and I look down, and I'm like, whoa, Sean, stop. Dude, you got to stop. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I go, pull over. He had 2, if not 3, of his brake rotor bolts were almost all the way backed out to the point where, if they fell out, they were going to go, it was just going to jam the whole system up.
Yeah. It was going to lock up a wheel.
I'm not talking like a thread out. I'm talking like 3 or 4 threads showing.
Sure.
And he's like, I mean, just had no clue. I was just like, damn, son, do you ever look at your bike? So I was blown away. I've never seen that before. But I have this, I want to say bad habit. I don't think it's a bad habit, but I habitually look at people's bikes. I'm always checking people's bikes out. And so that's the kind of stuff just sticks out to me. But I think anybody might have seen these bolts sticking out of his rotor.
Spoken like true grammar police right there. But I see both ends of that spectrum. I relate to both ends of the spectrum. I think I'm pretty solidly in the middle myself. But I will say this, along those lines, I hate to admit it. It took a long time. But I am finally a Centerlock convert.
I just don't get it. I've never messed with them.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
And that's part of the problem too, is I have a whole fleet that are all 6
Well,
bolt,
that was my issue as well, and I've over the years, from the promotions aspect, that's one of the things you see the stuff that trends to have problems and trends to never have problems. Of what first generation of Centerlock, they had some issues with things backing out, or maybe it was some of the conversion kits or something. I can't remember. But the last 4 or 5 years of Centerlock, it's basically flawless. There's no issue. There are no bolts backing out there, and it's surprising how often I have seen rotor bolts backing out and causing issues for people.
It's called Loctite.
I understand that.
It's called just doing the right thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the 21st century. Not everybody does the right thing.
Well, you can't blame the technology for
I'm not blaming the technology. All I'm saying is Centerlock is more advantageous to those people that are less detail-oriented than you might be.
That's a fair point. I just, I don't know. And it's not that I'm against Centerlock. On paper, I know I can't argue the fact that it seems more efficient, It's
a better system. And this is me. I was a Centerlock basher for years.
Yeah.
I actually almost hate myself for admitting it, but I am one of those people that can have my beliefs changed.
Huh? I just, I don't know. I don't know why I'm diametrically opposed to it. It's just never been my thing. And part of it was, I think part of it had to do with Shimano. I don't know why I can't remember. I've been angry for so long, I don't even know why I'm mad.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
Brad in a nutshell, everyone.
I don't know why I drew a line in the sand, but at some point I did. And like I said, now I have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bikes that are all 6-bolt.
Right.
So,
well, I think you probably drew the same line in the sand that I did, and we're going back to almost every episode we've spoken about.
yeah.
This was, from my perception, and probably yours as well, our crowd in general, this was an unnecessary shift in standards again. That was I think we were all just bashing our head against here comes another standard again.
Yeah, that may have been definitely part of it, because there was so many just changes that were coming along, and I got really curmudgeon-y. Like I was a square taper bottom bracket holdout forever too, because I was like, well, why are we changing this? But
actually, still something to be said to that to some extent.
Well, but the reality is, you can have an ISIS or whatever other interface bottom bracket come loose. You can have your pedal or your crank arm come loose a little bit, and it won't completely ruin your shit.
Yeah.
Whereas I've had multiple bottom bracket crank failures just from your crank arm coming slightly loose, and then I'm such a dickhead. I will tighten it and go, oh, that'll work. And then 2 rides later, it's loose again, and it just continues to waller. Yeah.
It's toast.
And so I know me, and I know that how I tend to be with stuff like that. So and plus the square taper tended to be a little bit more spindly, a lot more flex in that system versus current day technology. But I held off on square taper for a decade at least. So,
I mean, I agree that there were definite flaws in the square taper world. I'm not trying to infer that we should have stayed there. That's not where I'm going at all.
Yeah.
But you knew what you were working with.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of thing. Whereas the last 10 years of bottom brackets,
that was part of the holdout too.
It was like,
yeah. I mean, because I had square taper on 4 bikes, and so it's like, well, I could just take these cranks off and put these on, and I had spares laying around.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest thing, especially when you have a fleet of bikes, if you will.
Yeah, and plus one world.
Yeah, and that was my whole just crustiness about 27.5. I don't want a 27.5 bike in my garage when I have 3 29ers. And now I've got to buy tires specifically for this bike, whereas I can change tires and almost change wheels, around as I see fit. Whereas 27.5 was going to be the one standout. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. It's the same thing. You wouldn't have Crank Brothers pedals on one bike and have SPDs on every other bike.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. But that was just...
I'm actually going to dispute that. There's a lot of interchange. You can swap 27.5 and 29 or 700 in a lot.
I'm talking about tires on wheels.
The tires on wheels aspect of it. But the wheels themselves, and as long as you have the same rotors.
Sure. I mean, I realize you can run 27.5.
You can back out 6 bolts and move it over. Or you can just crank it off and crank it on.
Yeah. I mean, maybe one day I'll be a Centerlock guy.
I am not trying to convert anyone. I'm addressing my own personal issues.
Yeah.
I've got lots of issues.
So what happens though? My beautiful birds.
Yep.
I guess I've never even taken off a Centerlock or installed one, so I don't even know how that animal works. It's got a spline on it, obviously, and it goes over a central hub, and then you have a nut that cranks down with the proprietary tool.
I'll let my bike shop do it, and I never have to deal with it. So that's again, we're back in the realm of it just works sort of thing. So there's some advantage to that in my world, anyway. And like I said, I don't think in the last 5 years, maybe probably longer, because I'm getting old. So what I think is 5 years ago is now 10 years ago,
or 15.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I do that all the time.
But yeah, I haven't heard of any Centerlock issues from anyone in at least 5 years, I guess is what I'm getting at.
I would imagine that if you're having a Centerlock issue, it's a you issue. Like it just wasn't tightened down properly.
Something. Like I said, there was something in that first gen of Centerlock that was causing conflicts. I can't remember exactly.
I'm sure they had to nail down their tolerances because all your standoffs have to be exactly the same. And then can't even, my brain's too tired this morning to even contemplate, like when you get to boost and non-boost and all that, and how wide your flanges can be, and where your rotor has to be situated, and because it's got to be exactly the right distance from where the brake mount is and everything. So that's for engineers and whatnot. But anyways, I just, that's one of those things I haven't thought about in forever. I just know, like, when I order wheels and Gabe asked me, do you want Centerlock? I'm like, no. And I'm like that shitty about it too.
I hear you.
So, but like I said, I don't even know what the root of my argument is.
And I'm pretty sure, and any wrenches listening, professional wrenches listening, shiftlesslive@gmail.com if you want to agree or disagree. I'm pretty sure at this point all the wrenches prefer Centerlock too.
I would imagine it makes their job a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know. But then again, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure they both have their drawbacks, but I would imagine, I mean, Centerlock does seem, I haven't sat and contemplated Centerlock in forever, but as I sit here and think about it, it seems probably a lot more efficient, a lot more simplistic, but then again, I don't know. Not dealt with it.
I hear you. Again, I'm not trying to convert anyone.
Yeah.
Just going, Kevin can change his mind.
Yeah.
It does happen.
You want me to finish this email?
Yeah, please do.
I suggested winter training. Okay. And then he said, when asking about new bike packing tech, I've enjoyed my Jack the Bike Rack. Jack the Bike Rack.
I'm not familiar with that.
He included a picture.
Somehow I missed that.
Looks pretty sweet. Just kind of loops over the bars right next to the stem, and then as it swoops down, it spreads, and it just comes back towards the head tube, and then it's got, looks like retaining straps that go around your stack, headset stack.
Okay.
And I can't see how it's stabilized that well, but it's just a little flat rack.
Oh, okay. That does look interesting.
Yeah.
And it does look simple and efficient.
Very minimalistic.
I think it's going to be very particular to a stem, or is it a dedicated stem?
No, it's definitely not a dedicated
No, I'm
stem.
just making sure. So, I mean, that's not going to work with every stem, is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
What I don't understand is how the standoff, I can't see it well enough to see, because see this strap right here?
Yeah.
Is like a retention strap that goes around the headset stack.
Yeah.
I don't see what's keeping this rack from just driving backwards. I don't know what, unless
I think it's the spring of the bend itself at the stem there. Is my guess. But hey.
Yeah. Oh, I bet I know what it is. I imagine this swoops and goes under the stem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like leveraged out.
All of our listeners can see that very well.
Yeah. Oh, this works great for audio only. Anyways, it's called Jack the Bike Rack.
What's you just have the picture. That's not a URL to them. Okay.
It's not.
I'll put a link in the description if people want to check it out.
I'm very front bike rack curious, especially for like my go to town bike. You know, I've not ran a rack for any reason. I don't think I've ever owned a rack, and I'm more curious about a rack now than I ever have been. But I just want like a front rack, because I ride into Denton all the time, and I'm typically limited by what I can purchase and carry by my half frame bag.
Okay,
so,
I hear you.
I mean, I've been to the art festival and bought like I've got a ceramic bowl that I love. And I bought that and put it in my half frame, and I've bought, soft goods and stuff. And I've even bought some produce and stuff, but it's always limited by what I can fit in my half frame.
Okay.
Whereas if I had a front rack, especially one that I could throw on that didn't take, 20 minutes to install.
Yep.
I'd be pretty stoked about it, just from a versatility standpoint. And being able to carry something back, maybe some little bungees or whatever. But I just think it's fun to go capture something on your bike and bring it back. It's fun to carry anything on your bike, That's why bike packing is so much fun.
That's part of the allure of bike packing, no doubt about it. And the platform type racks like that Jack rack was seem to be trending upwards these days. Mm-hmm. And
especially if you watch Path Less Pedaled, he's all about
he's into those front racks. I think YouTube's not throwing that in my
algo anymore.
Recommended as much as it used to, so I haven't seen.
YouTube's algorithms have really kind of changed.
I was trying to tell you that a few episodes ago, and you were telling me it was me that's changed. I'm pretty sure it's YouTube that's changed.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Now, I did see a very interesting one, the most recent Berm Peak with the paved trails. Have you seen that one yet?
Mm-mm.
Very interesting. Up at Bentonville, and talking specifically about the paved mountain bike trails up there.
Yeah, McAfee had some video of that a couple of weeks back when he was up there for Big Sugar, I think, or whatever. He was actually showing video of that.
It's pretty interesting stuff, and his takeaways from it make a lot of sense.
I'll have to watch it.
I think you should. Who knows? Maybe we'll try to get that guy on sometime. That would be an
fun.
interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I bet he's pretty busy though these days.
Probably. It's funny because when you say paved trail, I immediately think RCP. Because remember all the bitching that used to go on about dumbing down the trail?
Well,
maybe that was North Shore as well.
It's all of them.
Yeah,
it's all of them. But he definitely touches on that hot topic.
Yeah.
When he talks about the concept in general and where it makes sense and where it may not.
I just can't imagine, because as much as everybody used to shit talk, the quote unquote dumbing down the trail, and it was always like, what are they going to do next? Pave it,
right? Right.
And so I can't imagine being the guy that has to pitch the idea of
let's pave
the trail. Everybody's like, what the fuck?
I suggested that. We have to be going on at least 15 years ago for LB Houston back in the day. It actually made sense to me. It's like, just keep the train and throw asphalt over it.
Yeah.
It's always out of commission anyway.
Yeah.
It's actually accessible and you could do it, sort of thing. Now, I can look back on it now and go, no, it doesn't make sense in Texas soil at all. There's no way it would ever last.
No.
I mean, they can't even, the sections of the net that they've paved and treated, and they can't even keep those maintained.
Yeah.
So let alone try to do it on single track mountain bike trail of some sort.
Yeah, I think crushed granite's probably your best bet.
It really is. It really is.
But I think about, if I'm a novice amateur cyclist, I'm going to be intimidated by riding anything that's not just flat terrain that's going to tear me up when I fall.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, But it's actually it's a two-sided coin though, because the reality is when you're doing, particularly as a noob, when you're doing maybe something that's looser or sketchier or a little bit bumpier or whatever, you're going a lot slower. Whereas if you go on a paved trail with berms and jumps and dip-de-doos and whatever else, well, you may hit a dip-de-doo wrong at 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And you're going to hurt something as opposed to falling down at 6 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I got a bruise. No, you fall at 25 miles an hour, you got broken bones.
Yeah. Unless you know how to fall.
I used to know how to fall.
Those slow falls sometimes are the worst.
They can be.
Because I think what ends up happening, when you're going fast and you fall, it happens and you don't have time to fight it. You just go, oh, this is happening, and you kind of tuck and you lean into it, so to speak.
Sure.
Whereas with a slow speed fall,
you're going to put an arm down,
or you have a lot more time to fight it. And so what happens is you're like, no, and then it's like,
right,
and it just beats you.
But the problem with the high speed fall though is, if you actually, even if you're instinctually doing your tuck and roll, or that's what your body does, if you hit a tree or a fence post or something like that, you're going to really hurt something.
Those trees, man, they just don't move.
They're stubborn as hell.
That's crazy.
I mean, that was how I dislocated my shoulder. It was exactly that. It was in Atlanta. It was a super fast, hard pack, twisty trail, just flying, and it just crossed up, caught a berm, started to lift up, came down. It's like, oh wait, the trail went left. I'm going into the woods now.
Had you ridden that trail before?
Nope.
No. So you were flying on a trail you didn't know?
I basically overcommitted.
Yeah.
But it was also one of those things, well, I've been doing it for 20 minutes and you could see where you're going, and got this one up, and it's like, oh. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't balls out or anything.
Sure.
I thought I was within safe parameters, but I thought I was within safe parameters for a North Texas trail.
Yeah.
So this was a little bit, it wasn't more technical, but a little bit more steep up and down and flowy, and it was a new type of trail that I wasn't used to. Oh, nice. Champions. Go Rangers.
Yeah, I have kind of a strict policy about not just letting loose on a trail that I don't know. Like even last night, we were riding North Shore backwards, which is what happens after the time changes. And it's amazing to me how every year I have to relearn that, because it's completely different. And so I'm real timid because I don't know, I can't remember the trail. So,
I mean, I've always had a basic rule of don't ride outside of what you can see.
Yeah.
What if you're going into blind turns, even if it's a trail, you don't know when there's going to be a tree across the trail, or somebody with a dog on a leash across the trail, or whatever else.
I've seen so many videos of people just flying down the trail, and then there was one, and it seemed like it was Bentonville, because it was like pump track, almost jump track, right next to a road. And this guy comes up, and he's been hitting all these jumps, and he goes over this one jump, and there's a guy walking up the jump, and he just jumps, and he's midair.
Right.
By the time he sees the guy, can't make any corrections, and the video cuts like right at impact. And I'm like, I'm glad I didn't get to see that. I remember those videos where these guys are going and they're hitting jumps same way, but the trail goes over like a berm down and to the left, and they just jump and go straight, and they land down this field, and they land on top of each other.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah. That was like Central America or something
it's like
that.
Always know the trail. So, I mean, and it becomes even more important when you're doing like true jump lines, like when you're doing shuttle assist or lift assist. I mean, I always slow roll a run at least once or twice before I go brakes off and just hit it. But
just for those who might be wondering, our nationwide dominance still has not taken effect. Still nobody from North Dakota or Alaska that's listening to Shiftless, but since we were talking about
Damn you, Alaska.
other countries, so our international audience is expanding by ranking. Canada, nothing surprising there. Poland, Australia, Germany, United Kingdom, Philippines, Portugal, Nicaragua, Finland, South Africa. Probably somebody that knows Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
Italy,
Got it.
France, Cayman Islands, Mexico, Estonia, Slovenia, Spain,
Wow.
Netherlands, Taiwan, Norway, New Zealand, Colombia, Slovakia, Dominican Republic, Brazil, India, Bulgaria, Austria, and Denmark. So we'll start working on world domination soon.
That's humbling.
That's pretty cool, I think.
But it makes me think of an ignorant question. Like, what if somebody's using a VPN to listen?
I'm not the one to answer that question.
Yeah. I'm just curious because I don't know how all that stuff works.
I mean, I know VPNs exist. I don't even know what you're supposed to do with it or why, quite frankly. Yeah, so it says you're somewhere else. Maybe?
Well, no, basically it says you're nowhere. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
We're just two idiots.
We're complete idiots. And I'm sure Josh Dean will fill us in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I've become more and more like VPN curious because especially all the stuff of, I don't know. I'm also a conspiracy guy. I've been hearing.
Go on.
Yeah, I've been hearing that they're going to try to start regulating the internet in America, and filtering what you can and cannot access and stuff. And it's even more of a reason to utilize a VPN because a VPN basically doesn't regionalize you. So like in a nutshell. And I'm not going to do this any justice, but like if you wanted European content and it was limited because of your location in the United States, then you could utilize a VPN and the filter would know that you're in the United States, so you'd be able to view the European content, just for weird example. But it has multiple benefits. It's another thing to freaking pay for. That's my thought process, and that's how come I haven't adopted one yet.
Yeah, I mean, if I find the need for one, maybe I'll go that route. And no, we're not looking for a VPN sponsorship at this point.
No, I don't even know enough about VPNs to
even
speak wisely.
I don't think we'd be able to do them any good.
Mm-mm. Although maybe that's the premise. If a dum-dum like me can use it, so can you. We had a good group last night at TNSS, back to riding at night. And we had our Thanksgiving feast afterwards in the parking lot. It was pretty cool. Had a lot of good food, good people. Had our burn pit going. It's a good time of the year. My boy Dan brought some Peking duck, which was, for me, I was super stoked about.
Yeah, I see that.
We had a little bit of everything. Of course, Carl, the vegan, brought some salad, freshly tossed salad right in the parking lot. We had sweet potato pie or sweet potato casserole, spiral cut ham. I know I'm missing a bunch of stuff. There was so much good food. Chicken wings and... I brought bread and butter, as I do. It was just good times. Good people.
Good. Very good.
Oh, and Garrett brought, how did he say it? Milk pie. It's milk tart pie, but it's apparently it's a South African tradition, and it was fucking delicious. So, it was everything I could do to only eat one piece.
So what is milk tart pie?
So
walk me through this.
The closest thing I could probably put it to is like a buttermilk pie.
Or chess pie.
Chess pie, yeah. Yeah. But it was
inside joke.
Good.
You got to go back several episodes.
Yeah. It was a homemade crust. I didn't get to ask him. It almost had like a dusting on the top and now it was dark.
Sure.
But it looked like it was like in appearance, looked like cinnamon or cocoa or something. It was like a dry,
yeah.
look. But it didn't have a ton of impact on the flavor. And I meant to ask him what it was.
Was not overwhelming at all.
No, it wasn't like, like
Right.
if it was cinnamon or cocoa,
Right.
it would have been. And neither one of those flavors were in that pie, so I don't know what it was, but damn, it was good. I think that was the only dessert besides the sweet potato casserole. But anyways, it was good. We didn't have a turkey, though.
I was
Seems weird.
about to ask, was there a turkey involved?
We had duck.
Well,
Who needs turkey when
when
you
you
got
got duck.
dude?
yeah.
It reminds me of A Christmas Story at the end when they go to the Chinese restaurant.
Chinese restaurant.
Somebody even said it would have only been better if you'd have brought it whole in a cutting board and just lopped the head off and said, Thanksgiving. But that was Christmas. So And they're doing another one next Tuesday.
I was about to say, forgive my ignorance. I thought I saw something about y'all
There's going to be duplicates because
doing a
everybody
double feature this year or something like that.
Everybody couldn't make it. In fact, I won't be able to be there next Tuesday either. I'm headed to Mississippi. But it was good times. It's always good times. I love it when we ride and food.
So if you're in Mississippi, you're not going to be available to record next week?
That's accurate. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
We will plan accordingly.
I was going to tell you that.
It's all good.
Yeah, we're headed to Mississippi on Tuesday.
Okay.
And probably won't be back until Sunday.
Okay.
So,
Well, we've got an episode of Cushion right now,
yeah.
so we're good.
Yeah,
good.
I like the way that episode, the first half, worked
Ended.
out. Yeah. Oh no, not the ending.
I like the ending a lot
Oh,
because I'm going to hold you to it.
wait, I don't know how. Wait, remind me. What did I say?
I'm there, or something when you're talking about next year's version of Ministry Palooza.
Oh, I'm 100% serious. Yeah. In fact, I'm gonna try to recruit more people to go. I was talking to Adam about it last night. I was like, dude,
Let's not go hog wild on this because we've only got limited bandwidth.
that's fun. That's fun. Just first come, first serve.
Understood. Understood. We'll figure it out when it gets closer. We're putting together a spring ride in the national park right now that probably open that up next week
Very cool.
as well. But I think don't get me wrong, I like both, but
Yeah.
I like the Spinistry Palooza route better than the national park route.
What about the state park route? Isn't there like 50-mile loop over there? Single track?
Their mountain bike trail, I guess, is a better way to describe it. There's some single track, there's some Jeep road, there's some
Yeah.
semi bushwhacking, from my understanding.
But it's not something you do on a gravel bike, is what I'm getting at.
I don't believe that's the recommended approach.
I know Shannon did it on his horse thief, I think.
I mean that's what the vegan cyclist and his buddy did on that Impossible route one down there. Was a good bit of the state park stuff.
Okay.
So I can't remember what bikes they were on for theirs.
Speaking of which, vegan cyclist and the impossible routes and stuff, give me a elevator pitch on your north to south route. Is that fully established, fully vetted?
The route is 100% vetted.
Okay.
And it's 100% vetted by bicycle tires too.
Okay. So what is the start and what's the finish?
The start is the Red River, just north of Munster.
Okay.
And the finish is Big Bend National Park.
Oh, fucking tits. Yeah. Okay. And it's 1,300 or 1,400 miles?
It's 1,000 miles.
Oh, it's 1,000 miles. Oh, okay. Only 1,000.
Only 1,000.
So has this route been ridden in completion?
It has not been ridden
Continuously.
contiguously,
Yeah.
point to point yet.
Yeah.
We'll be doing a group in March
Okay.
for that on a semi-supported basis. Well, semi-supported is a loose term. Spinistry vehicle will be around, and we'll see how it works for a
Are you going to do it stage-like you
stage
do red?
type segment. Yeah, I've got some stuff laid out.
Yeah.
We have to get a little bit more creative. There's some lack of amenities zones that are more prevalent.
That plays into my wheelhouse.
Understood.
Yeah.
We're doing that in March. The end of that one will end up at Big Bend National Park, so we'll probably do, if folks are able to come down for like Sunday, Monday, and want to do a Big Bend National Park Club Spinistry ride that aren't able to do the full Tasha Trail, we'll do that one in March, but then we'll do an April Big Bend National Park Club Spinistry ride that's just the national park is the idea for that one. That's going to be April 19th weekend, I think is what we have reserved at the moment.
That's my anniversary weekend.
Paula would love it.
That's exactly what she wants to do.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Back to the name Tasha.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, I know we talked about this, not this specifically, but we talked about how you're a lot more historical with your naming of routes and stuff now, which I applaud. But can you tell me where Tasha comes from? Because I really don't know.
Tasha is the Caddo word, Native American word, Texas tribe for friend or ally.
Okay.
It's what the Spanish, when they came into the region, took over and turned Tasha into Tejas. And Tejas is what the whites who took over the area turned into Texas. So Tasha is the origin of the term Texas, and it means friend or ally.
Interesting. So I went to summer camp in East Texas for years, and they divided us into tribes.
Okay.
We had two different, basically you were on a different team, and it was Caddo and Tejas.
Okay.
Was the two teams, blue and red. And we had, all kinds of competitions and stuff, but I never thought about all that. I knew Tejas was where Texas kind of came from, but I didn't know about the Tasha route and stuff.
The Tasha route was new to me as well. I wasn't familiar with that term till I started doing research after I discovered this route. Discovered, that's not the right. After I put together this route.
Right.
It's always been there.
Yeah.
And it's just, this is my iteration of going across the state. But a lot of it parallels what were some of the Native American trails that became the wagon trails that it's turned in the state highways and interstates. That's something a lot of people don't recognize is I-20 going across the state. It basically, that's the same thoroughfare that was what the Native Americans used as their main thoroughfare as well.
Loosely, yeah.
Yeah, not foot for foot, but it follows the same topography and terrain because path of least resistance.
Yeah,
generally speaking.
That makes sense. Yeah, I say this almost too much on road trips when we go out West Texas, but I just look out across the plains and you see all those ditches and little chasms and stuff, and I just think, somebody pointed their wagon this way and just said we're going this way, and they run up on one of these little ditches or whatever, or canyon's not the right word, but and they go, well, fuck, we got to go around, and then they spend a day or two going around this little bitty thing just to be right back here. And I was just like, it blows my mind to think that people were that hardy and they just pointed their wagon and
Well, but actually that goes back to what I was talking about. The wagons followed the trails that the Native Americans developed because the Native Americans found that creek crossing that was a low point, that was the easiest point to cross. So instead of getting to a creek and having to go 5 miles this way to find a crossing, the Native American trail angled over towards where that low cross, and that's where the wagon team
probably started with game trails, as a matter of fact, too.
Exactly. They were following where the buffalo went and things like that.
I'm going to mess this up tremendously, but it's my understanding, and like I said, I'm going to mess this up, but cars are the width they are, obviously, because it two people that sit next to each other, but the railroads, the width of the railroad track was designed in alignment with the width of the horse-drawn carriage because the width of two horses' butts and the way the wheels fell in line with their tracks, and the horses essentially beat down where the wagon wheels were going to fall. And then all that translated over to the width of a railroad track. I can't remember how the whole thing plays out, but I never thought about how all that stuff lined up. Obviously, there's somebody that says it way more eloquently than me.
I think I follow the logic that you're getting at. I've never heard that before. I'm not disputing it, and I guess it's a loose standard anyway.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not.
Well,
railroad tracks are like they do have some tolerance, but
they are now. And that's what I'm saying. So back in the burgeoning days of the railroad industry, you had competing standards.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. There was narrow gauge, wide gauge, mid gauge, and
oh, wow.
So there were issues, well, even into the 20th century, where different railroads were completely incompatible. So if you were getting something from Northwestern
Union Pacific
or whatever, but trying to take it to Florida, you had to offload in Chicago and move to a different gauge line.
Man, I can see why people would think that was a good thing, though. It's kind of almost like territorial. Like, hey, we're KCS. You can't bring your Union Pacific shit over here, you know?
Well, no, I'm sure that was, yeah.
Yeah.
People are territorial. People are very tribal.
Yeah.
Very,
and that's
very
what I was
tribal.
thinking about when we were just talking about the Caddo Tejas thing. I was like, even from a child, I was programmed to be like us against them.
The whole us versus them thing. That's one of my personal hot buttons. That
Well, can't we all just get along?
We've outgrown it.
Yeah, we have. We need to.
We should have outgrown it. I guess we're at the point where we should be able to look beyond that and not just, well, that's them. That's the wrong way to do it. It's us. Oh, we're the good guys.
I think our motto should just be meet in the middle. You know?
MEAT?
No. Huh? I don't know. I could work with that.
You could do something with that, right?
I just think that people focus on differences way more than they do on similarities. I think if we just let some of our guard down and realize that we're all the same. We're all going through the same shit. We're all fighting similar battles. We've all been through similar shit, and we all care about the same things for the most extent, you know? You just need to be nice to each other.
Be lovely to each other.
Ride your bike.
Ride your bike. Respect the e-bike.
Hug somebody. Respect the e-bike. What the fuck? Hey, I've said it before. I'm taking on the thought of, if you're on a bike, you're good. So
yeah, unfortunately, based on conversations with my doctor, I think I'm going to have to go the e-bike route here sooner rather than later.
Awesome. I'm going to give you so much shit. So much shit. Well, what'd your doctor say? Talk to me.
It's just
I'm not a doctor, first of all, but I'm going to argue with everything he said.
I'm sure you will. Mm-hmm. No, my knees are falling apart. It's that simple.
But can we not rebuild?
We can replace them.
Mm-hmm.
It's highly recommended that be delayed as long as possible, because if I replace them now, I'm going to have to replace them again.
Have you tried any stem cell?
Not stem cell. I'm doing hyaluronic acid right now.
I need to recommend PRP to you tremendously. Platelet-rich plasma. Super cheap, relatively. Highly effective. It can stave off all of this for probably 3 to 5 years. I think it's like $1,000 out the door. But essentially what they do is they pull your own blood, they put it in a centrifuge, cycle out the plasma. So the plasma is really concentrated, and then they inject it straight into the site. The way the doctor explained it to me, your body is constantly trying to repair itself. but the more damaged a joint or area gets, the more scar tissue it has. So it's harder for your body to access that point and send all these resources. So what they're doing is by injecting it straight into the site, not only are they giving it a concentrate of what it needs, it's getting there right there. So I thought I was going to have surgery on my back. I mean, I was to the point where I couldn't, if I dropped something on the ground, I couldn't pick it up. I was so stiff. It was a struggle for me to get out of bed. Went and had an MRI done, had PRP done, as have two or three more of my friends as well. And, I think I'm a year and a half later and still just rocking. I can't recommend it enough, and it, at the very least, it's worth a try.
I will bring it up to my doctor.
Well, your doctor's going to poo-poo it. That's why I'm telling you.
Yeah. See, now you're cutting me off.
No? Okay. Continue.
I'm pretty certain this doctor would not be of the poo-poo ilk.
Okay.
He is receptive to new techniques.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll bring it up for discussion.
Yeah.
I'm seeing progress with the hyaluronic acid. There's no doubt about that.
And what's the overall thought process of the hyaluronic acid? What does, I don't even know about that.
Basically, that's it's injecting basically more joint cushion, but essentially. So basically, both my knees are traumatic osteoarthritis from when I got hit in 17. And it's an ongoing degenerative thing. And
what the fuck was that?
That was an acorn.
Jeez. That scared me, and I'm not scared of anything.
And surgery helped at one point, and
they just scoped it or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, torn meniscus in both knees is part of it, but just all sorts of stuff. And I thought it was getting better, and I was just being stubborn about it, and I didn't recognize how degenerative it actually was. So I thought it was a me thing. I wasn't riding enough. I wasn't losing enough weight or whatever else. And make no mistake, those things can help, but they can also hurt.
Yeah.
And that's what I've run into this year, was actually the riding was contributing to the negative impacts of it, unfortunately.
PRP, bro. I'm telling you. Pretty impressive. I've been very impressed, and I wouldn't have even known about it unless somebody told me about it. And like I said, two of our friends had it before me, and they were, to see them go from where they were to where they are.
Does anybody had it specifically with knee issues? Have you seen?
No, but that's one of the main things they focus on is knees.
Okay.
Knees, backs, shoulders, and I think neck. It's all these pain points that you have where you built up scar tissue and stuff. Now, obviously, there's stuff that they can't deal with, but I think a consultation is free.
Understood.
I would go and talk to them and take any paperwork or scans or stuff you have and just hear what they have to say.
I'm open. I'm open to new stuff,
because they're straight up. They will tell you this isn't going to work for you, or they tell you, hey, you could see a 75% turnaround with this. And I'm telling you, it was 2 days, 3 days, and by the time the tightness got done, because they did on my back. They did, the worst part about it was all the local that they give you to deaden the area so they can give you the actual injections. It felt like a bunch of bee stings on my lower back. And then everything else just felt like pressure, felt like somebody just pushing their thumb into you. But they gave me, I think, 80 injections. And 80, yeah. And it was, like I said, 2 days later, I was like, felt like a fucking cyborg. It was, it's akin to when I had LASIK done. I went from, I couldn't see shit, till all of a sudden I opened my eyes and I was like, whew, This is
And he is
crazy.
wearing glasses for anyone that's wondering.
Well, all these things, these non-invasive solutions, they have an expiration date.
Yep.
You know, I had my LASIK lasted for, I want to say 15 years. Not bad, you know.
That's pretty good.
So, and then this has an expiration date too. It's not a permanent fix.
Right.
Which is also, I think, a good thing, because if you go in and you do something permanent, like change your joint and put in plastic or metal or whatever, 5 years from now, and they go, oh, that's stupid technology, we need to fix that, or, you know, it went wrong because of this. This is essentially like an overblown cortisol shot. You know what I mean? But I think it's a good thing all the way around. So, I mean, I will have to do something else in the future for my back. But,
and I mean, and ultimately, that's what I'm saying. I have to find an ongoing solution to delay the knee replacement aspect of it. That's our goal right now, and that's what I'm saying. My current doctor, I'm sure he's aware of PRP, and if he thought it was the right solution, I would expect he would be the type that probably would have already brought it into the conversation. But I'll clarify it to make sure. And if I'm not satisfied with his response, I'll be more than happy to talk to somebody else and get a different opinion. Because, I mean, the one thing that is universal is this is not the time of my life to have both knees replaced.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to have to do it again in 10 to 15 years with current technology.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is to hopefully delay the knee replacement as long as possible to begin with. But then hopefully the technology of the knee replacement improves over the course of time. So what's maybe a 10 to 15 year window turns into a 15 to 20 year window, or a 20 to 30 year window sort of thing.
Yeah.
Not that I want to live that long, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think this is a perfect application, especially given those parameters. But I'm not a doctor.
But you're an engineer. Chef engineer.
I think I've said everything I need to say, other than just take another second and just admire how gorgeous today is.
What's the red berries over there?
I don't know. They're all on these vines. I'm fairly certain they're not edible by anybody. I imagine they're poisonous.
I about to say, I mean, isn't that poison ivy creeping up there?
No. It's not English ivy, but it is a type of ivy.
It is an ivy.
It's definitely not poison ivy. But yeah, there's.
Oh yeah, I see it all up and down that one there.
Yeah, they look like currants. I can never say that word.
Currants.
Currants.
I
think it's currants.
I've heard it both ways.
Currant.
They're very good though.
Yeah, but that's what it looks like. But every time I see wild berries, they scare me.
Here was one of my biggest takeaways from Spinistry Palooza. The word potable regarding water. How do you pronounce it?
I've always called it potable.
Okay. But
it's also one of those things I have no clue.
And I've been calling it potable for years. And at the insistence of somebody that I had faith in their opinion when I used to pronounce it potable, telling me how wrong I was. Don Dapkus and I got into a debate over the campfire about how that's pronounced. And I was adamant that it's potable. And he was adamant that it's potable. And further research shows that both he and you are correct. It is potable.
I could see where logic would dictate you're able to put it in a pot.
That's
potable.
That was basically the reasoning that was explained to me from a military standpoint. So maybe in the U.S. military they may refer to it as potable, but the proper English pronunciation of it is potable.
Well, I think it doesn't matter what you say. People know exactly what you're talking about.
And those that don't shouldn't be at Spinistry Palooza.
Yeah.
Shall we roll out of here?
Let's do it.